Hi everyone. Here's going to be an intro video on using Gravit Designer, which is an online vector art program that we can use for free, and it's very, very similar to using Adobe Illustrator. The way we're going to use this is we are going to use the web-based version. We don't need to download this to our Chromebooks, but we are just going to click on the Start Now and use the web-based version. When you first click Start Now, it's going to ask you to create an account because it does save your files in the cloud for you. So you do not need to create your free account. You're just going to start off with your Google school account. So click on Sign with Google. And again, I'm going to start with my school at jusd.k12ca.us account. And it's going to have me logged in already. So when you first start off, this is the welcome screen to start off a new design, and it gives you a various different sizes of artboards to basically start with, depending on what you're going to use. Let's say if you want to create something specifically for Instagram, the ideal size for Instagram is, let's say, 1080 by 1080 pixels. And there's all kinds of different devices that you can start off with the perfect resolution to create an image for all types of different artwork. For us, typical, as my standard, I like to just start off with a standard piece of paper, which is 8.5 by 11. Now you could start off here with a custom size in pixels is a little bit interesting to work with. Usually something I like to use inches for my dimensions. You know, we do a lot of art for t-shirts here, and I know exactly what an 11-inch design for a t-shirt would look like versus 1680 pixels. So I usually always like to use the inches for my units. But let's actually just go to this print size, and I'm going to go to US letter landscape. That's going to be your sideways. 8.5 by 11 is a standard sheet of paper. Portrait is vertical. Landscape is kind of like wide, like the mountains. And we're going to start here's your new art file, your page right here in the middle. Now, your main tools are going to be up here across the top. Let's start with the basics. Here's where you're going to create your text and your type, which is, again, the shortcut is just T, and we're going to start dealing with shapes right here. So let's actually just start off with a little bit of text on this. So I'm going to click on the text tool, and I am going to just single click to start my text here. And before I type, I'm going to single click, and there is Open Sans. And you're going to type, your text is highlighted in blue, so it's ready to go. And you are going to type your last name. And one other thing, before we do anything, I want you to click on this auto scale font right here. And what that does is when you resize it, it's going to size the font also with your design. And oops, let me click back on the font, sorry. Now, okay, that one is auto scaled. Cool. It's got this little red circle in the bottom. So when you resize the bottom corner, which by the way, when you resize from here on out, when you're using higher level software programs, you will need to hold shift on the bottom corner, and that keeps it constrained. So I'm going to click there, and that's going to grow with it. That's because I've checked the auto scale font. When I resize the box, it resizes the name. If you want to change the font, you're going to click over here where it says appearance. And as you can see, there's all kinds of different alphabets in here. Some interesting alphabets that I don't know how to read necessarily, but let's go ahead and find a font that you are interested in. Let's go to some, for sake of video. All right, let's just go to lemon right here. Oops. Now, that one doesn't fit. I think I do need to widen this box a little bit. Nope, and let me auto scale the font and see if it can readjust the box. See why it's not showing up. Okay, it's too big for the page there. Let's go ahead and resize it then. Also, instead of auto scale, this text is selected, and I could come over here to, here's the font name, here's the weight, like if you did want to make it bold, this font doesn't have a bold, and then on the size. When you hover your mouse over the size, there is this kind of up and down arrow, which you can actually just click and drag up and drag down if you want to resize the font. Or you could single click in the box. Sorry, let me click one more time. Just come here, click on it, and use the up and down arrows on your keyboard to adjust the font size a little bit. All right, I'm going to readjust this. Now, there's two things. If you want to change the color, you're going to click on the circle right here for you make sure your your text is selected. Let's click on the color, and you can change any of these colors, any of these sliders. You can slide this over here. You'll have an infinite range of colors, thousands of colors. But what I like to do is just, what's easiest is kind of use the consistent colors is use these colors down here at the bottom. And I'm going to click on the grayscales and go to gray right here. All right, let's add a stroke, is what we call it in Adobe Illustrator. Here, they're going to call it a border. So here is our fill. Here is our borders right here. I'm going to add a border to this, and click on the little plus sign, and it adds an outline. Like I said, borders, outline, or stroke is what they call it in Adobe Illustrator. And if you want to change the color, again, you can just click on this little, click on the circle, and let's change this to like a blue or something like that, or if you want to darken it. Now, if you want to, once you get a design and have a bunch of colors, you could click on right here where it says in use, and it's showing me that I'm only using these same two colors. So if I want to create some other objects on this page, if I click on in use, I'm going to use real easy to find the exact two colors that I'm already using in this design. All right. I'll tell you your first shortcut that is very similar also to Adobe Illustrator. I want to zoom in on this. So if you could hit Z for zoom, or there is a magnifying glass up here, zoom, but I find it easy, just hit Z for zoom. And if you click and drag around something, it is going to zoom into that. Now, to go back to your move tool here, which is your pointer tool, but in Illustrator, it is the same shortcut, V on your keyboard. You can see when this flyout comes up, it says pointer tool, and there is a V off to the right. So I'm on my magnifying glass. Let's go V, and I can now move this around whenever you need to select something. Let's look at this. Let's go back to our outline on this one, on our border right here. Now with this border, you actually, again, I'm going to click on the size right there and the 1 point and hit the up arrow on my keyboard. Or you can, like I said, click and drag up, click and drag down on your border. All right. Now, the nice thing about Gravit is you could actually add multiple borders. Let's say you wanted to add another color stroke on the outside. So you can actually add another one right here. So I'm going to click the plus sign. And this border, this black border, let's actually change. I'm going to click on the blue one, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger just to show you. And this black border, let's change it to white just so you can see a little better. And click on the point, and I'm going to just hit the up arrow until I like the size of it, maybe about there. And what's interesting is, depending on the size of them, you can rearrange the order of this. I'm going to click and drag this border above, but then you can't see it because it's larger, but I'm going to click it below and make sure it goes the right order. Now, one other thing that's really important for these borders is coming up under these options right here, these settings. So I'm on this, as you can see, look on this L right here. It gets a little chunky on that blue border. So I'm going to click my blue border is selected. You can see this pink line right there. I'm going to click on my little settings. And this one where it says the ends, let's see if the rounded one, then kind of wherever there's an anchor, which we're going to talk a lot more, that will then smooth it out right here. This got rid of that kind of chunkiness on, I think it was this first one. Yeah, let's go to square. Also, one other thing we will talk more about is these borders, and let's moving them on the inside or outside. Let me click on the white stroke, the white border. I'm going to click on my settings button right here. And you can move it to the center, to the outside, or the inside, and we'll talk more about that in different paths and stuff like that. But I usually always move my borders to the outside. All right, to zoom out, my preference is there are other zoom options. Here's your zoom, and it does tell us Z for zoom. I'm actually going to go Control minus on my keyboard is my favorite. That's just my preference. Control, I'm holding Control, and the minus up at the top by the plus sign, Control minus, and it will zoom out. And you also need to know how to use spacebar. Spacebar changes it to the pan, or this hand tool. Here it is up here, pan tool. And actually, you can use H if you want for a hand, but I just use spacebar, and that allows you to move your page around. So let's go over our shortcuts again one more time. So Z for zoom, you can zoom into something. Spacebar to move around your artwork. Control minus to zoom out. All right, one last thing I want to do in this video is you are going to add, I do want you to type some type your last name, and let's add a couple shapes with you. Your shapes are all up here next to your main toolbar up here across the top. But your shapes are going to be rectangles, ellipses, polygons, triangles, stars, etc. Let me pull up the ellipse tool. And an ellipse is an oval. Click and drag. I'm going to hit delete on my keyboard, and I'm going to go back up to my ellipse tool, which is E for an ellipse. Now, if you want to, this is an ellipse, but if you want to draw a perfect circle, again, you're going to get used to this. Holding shift when you resize something. If you hold shift, it is now going to hold it completely just as a circle, okay, if you want to draw a circle. Let me come back to my ellipse tool again. Let's just draw an oval. And every time you draw something, it is going to go on top of it. So what you could do here is there is a couple ways to do this. We could rearrange the order by right-clicking on it and go to align. And let's say we want to align and, sorry, it should say arrange. My bad. I apologize. Arrange, and I'm going to click send to back, and that'll move it to the back. Or what you could do is click on this ellipse and come over here to the left-hand side, which has your layers, and let's just drag this to the bottom. And this is the order over here on the left-hand side. This ellipse is in the back. This ellipse is in the front. As you can see by the order over here on the left-hand side, the text is in the middle. Or what we could do is I'm going to hold shift on this circle. And just to show you order again, and to make it easy, I'm going to click on this circle, and it's in the front. Click on the fill, and let's change it to, let's just say red right now. And again, I'm going to come over here to my layers, and let's move it to the bottom. And it's now behind everything. All right. And let's move this over here. I do want to show you one other thing real quick that you might want to play with. Z for zoom. I'm going to zoom right in. I'm going to click on my text, and the appearance on this color one is right here. It's this gray. So once you select it, all your options come up the right-hand side. I'm going to click on this gray, and instead of color fill, let's go to, sorry, let me click on it one more time. And normally, I'm sorry, it gives me the option to do a gradient, but it's not popping up. Let me try it on this oval here. On the oval, I'll click on my fill, and it comes up to linear gradient. And the way a gradient works is, sorry, let me zoom out, Control minus on my keyboard. Let's click on this gradient. I'm going to click on the gradient right here, and this allows us to, this slider up here allows us to actually change colors if we want. If you want to add a color, basically you, or you click up here, this gradient, you can add a color to it, and then slide it wherever you want. I'm going to click here in the middle, and let's add another color. And you can slide that wherever you want and add all types of different gradients should you choose. Also, you can grab the ends of this and you could change the angle right here. Have it diagonal and actually change the location right here on where you want the different colors to be. So if you want to get rid of a color, sorry, and one other thing, if you want to kind of keep your angles nice and straight, like you want to make this perfectly vertical, hold shift again on your keyboard and it kind of locks it in, holds in that ratio. So if I'm going to just click over here, bring this one over here, but hold shift, it's going to lock it perfectly horizontal for me. Now let's get rid of some colors real quick. Let's just come up here on this right hand side, and I'm going to drag a color off, drag this color off. And let's click on this first one, and we just change it to a nice, like a simple gray gradient. All right, well, there's enough to kind of get started on this first assignment. Hope that helps. Click around, have fun, and it'll take a little while to get used to, but it's actually a very, very powerful vector art program for being free online. All right, have fun.